Welcome to the Clicks and Giggles podcast. This is your host, Jordan Rothwell Perry, here to talk about messaging. And really, the number one mistake I see being made with messaging is that people just aren't trying enough messaging. Your message and what you want people to know about you and believe to work with you, and the message you want to get out to people is never just one and done. If anyone's ever made you think that, let's myth bust that right now. And how freeing is that? You don't have to obsess over your message before you get it out. Think of messaging as freaking flinging spaghetti against a wall and seeing what hits. And here's why I say that. Some messaging will work for me that won't work for you. I'm not a mom yet. I hope to be one day. And when people are talking about being a mother and female entrepreneur, mom power, and working between nap time, and you could do this and this between nap time or after bedtime or whatever, like that doesn't hit for me. And so if that's a brand's only messaging or a coach's only messaging, I at a certain point, I'm going to think I'm kind of singled out from that. If they also were doing different messaging about being able to show up as a present spouse because you work with them, I'm like, oh, that hits, because sometimes I'm not as present for my husband and I want to be. Or showing up just for yourself, taking out the family portion. Oh my gosh, yes, all day long. And so I want you to think about how sometimes we narrow down our messaging so much, and that's the whole problem, air quotes, with niching, is that you can pigeonhole yourself. And so I want you to, A, if you're doing that, we're going to think of some other messaging angles. And then B, I want you to also get excited that you can try other messages and see what sticks. So when I say what sticks or what hits, ways you'll know it hits: someone responds to your email that you send out. Say your open rates are higher than usual based on messaging you try in a subject line. Say for a poll you do, you start getting some different responses to it, or you do a question box about a certain message topic and you get more responses or different responses. I think the keyword and phrase here, and I already said it once, is pigeonhole ourselves into something, when really there's a bunch of different options messaging wise that we can use. Let me give you some examples in my business. So I have said, sorry, your ads manager sucks, which is not polite, but it's cheeky. And that's just my humor and my marketing, because there's so many bad agencies, bad ads managers out there. I have done, I may not be your first ads manager, but I will be your last. That has hit for a lot of people. I realized that I was only talking to people who were using agencies or had bad experiences with them or were outsourcing their ads. And as I had really diversified offers, I was like, wait, I'm not talking to people who want to grow their list, who don't even know what it's like. I have a client right now in Europe on her belated honeymoon, and we've gotten over 120 people signed up for her webinar that's happening when she gets back in 10 or 12 days or so. And what the heck? She had never used an agency before. She had never had a bad ads manager. And so imagine if I had pigeonholed myself in that writing, in that messaging, we probably wouldn't be working together. And so there have been some ways things have changed and evolved to where it's painting more of the broad picture. Imagine coming back from vacation to over 100 new people signed up for your webinar. What would that do for you? And so that is a type of messaging that I've tweaked, rather than just like going down the narrow, like ads manager, agency, all this good stuff, because some people are starting to work with me in a done with you capacity, in addition to the done for you, and then also DIY, obviously. But that support, it looks different. They may not have ever had an ads manager. So what if that's only what I talked about and only what I drilled into people's heads? They'd be like, I don't relate, keep scrolling. Versus everyone can relate to wanting to grow their list of leads, whether it's me growing it for them or whether they're doing it with my guidance, or maybe they're at the beginning of their journey and they're just getting a guide. That just shows you how, with your different offers, your offer suite, and the customer journey you're bringing them in on, you really do have to change your messaging, or else you could be excluding great people who would be great fits to work with you, but they disqualify themselves based on just being like, wait, I don't think I can work with that. I don't think this is for me. I already talked about the mom thing before, but I see that I was single. I didn't meet Brad until in person I was 30, but we matched online the month before I turned 30 when I was 29. So I was really single in my 20s, and singleness is a whole other thing. And my heart is for a person who desires marriage in the future. And with that, this could be a whole podcast, not even an episode, about people who are single and who want to be married, and how everything's about your spouse and your partner and da da da. And no pun intended, singling them out. That's a whole other thing. Like if you're a coach who talks more about like the relationship with their spouse or their partner in your messaging, but you would gladly work with someone who's single and maybe who wants to be in a relationship one day and is working on themselves and wanting to become a better person for that person. Well, if you're not talking about it or talking to them, you're singling them out, pun intended. So, or not singling them out. And so what I just want you to think about is like some of the key messages that you send and people you talk to. Could you broaden it more? Could you open up that radius per se of people that you're targeting? And are you like, oh my gosh, wait, yes, I've just been like on autopilot using the same messaging for so long. Something does have to give. I think people think of their messaging as go with me here. It's like a buttoned up, I'm going on a cruise, I'm going on a vacation, I have to have everything ready, because once you're at sea, I'll tell you what, I love knowing there's a CVS nearby. I feel very safe when I know there's a CVS nearby or a Target for Target pickup. When I'm on a trip, I'm like, oh gosh, when I'm packing, it's so easy. I can just run by there. When you're going on a cruise, it is very different unless you want to shop on the cruise and spend $1 bajillion. So you have to have everything buttoned up, everything ready, and then you go and you just set sail and you coast. Wait, you're getting everything ready and then you're going. I don't want you to think about your messaging that way. I want you to think about your messaging as like an afternoon boat ride, very casual. I'm a Florida girly. I moved back to Florida a couple months ago. And so it's like my brother and sister-in-law inviting me over and saying, do you want to go on the boat this afternoon? And I'm like, sure. They're on a cover up and go. And it doesn't have to be thought about that much to take action on it and do it. You're a little afternoon boat ride. You're like, yeah, I was going to do laundry and meal prep. I can do that tonight, or I can do that tomorrow. And you kind of move things around a little bit. Think about that like you're messaging too. You're not embarking on this journey and then going, I need you to just go on the afternoon boat ride of messaging. Be like, you know what? I really have been targeting couples, and I would love to coach a couple people who are wanting to be married one day or wanting to be in a healthy relationship. Let me talk to them more. Let me show them what's possible. And that's deep down, like what messaging is and how it intertwines with marketing is your messaging is showing people what is possible for them and like what you could do for them and painting that picture, right? So really think about who else could I paint this picture for? And another way I'll tell you people pigeonhole themselves is they only focus on online businesses. I've been guilty of it too. I have clients who are brick and mortars as well. But what the heck? Think about in your town who you could reach out to work with, or the way you could do some different messaging for you to support brick and mortars. That's a whole other ball game of tons of businesses, well-established businesses who have been around for years that I know I've been guilty of leaving out in my messaging, and I can serve them well. So I really want you to just think about the cruise ship versus the boat example of take the pressure off, write a couple different types of messages you could put out there. I'll give you some examples. You've got House of Color, who I love their consultants so much. There's so many different angles you could take with that. You can take knowing your colors and getting ready with ease. You can take finally knowing what makeup looks best on you. Like, people would kill to know that and to feel good and to have a quick 5-minute makeup routine. Then you could think about style and actually making your current clothes work for you. No color needed yet. Just dabble into like, do you feel a little frumpy and don't want to feel that way anymore? Let's talk. And then, I mean, you could combine them all and do like, need to shake it up a little bit. But there's so many facets of the House of Color business. And then what you could think about is like different holidays, like holidays coming up and holiday parties. Want to stand out and feel your best, book an appointment. Or there's holiday gifts. That's a message to try and see what hits. And is the message or campaign get gift cards, or is the message book an appointment for your wife and daughter? There's so many messages within the overall campaign. And so that's an example of all the, I mean, not all the different ways you could break it up, but so many different things. And I'm trying to think of another example for someone, obviously not a House of Color consultant, but I would break it up by offer and what each of your offers could do for people, and then go into it that way. So if you have a mastermind and it's really for women in business who have made their first 100,000 and want to get to 250,000, and you're talking about, hey, have you proven your offer? You have proof of concept, but you need to figure out how you're going to scale this business, and you want to be around other people because business is lonely. That's an example. Business is lonely. Find some community. Then it could be using a testimonial of someone else and seeing, does that resonate with people? Like really breaking it apart. I mean, you could think about all the reasons why you'd want to be in a group, learn from other people, all that good stuff. So that could be like promoting the mastermind, right? That's different prongs of messaging to use. But then you may have another offer that is even higher touch, one-on-one. And you're like, hey, this is for people who have done a couple $100,000 in their business and they want to be the first next goal of the rung you're going to is $500,000. And then we're going to do 750, and then we're going to do a million. And that's one-on-one, and doing messaging around higher touch, accessibility, very much like paying to be with someone who has done it before, who has the same business as you, who's going to walk them right through it. No secrets, no holding back, the exclusivity and all of that, trying that messaging and see, do people respond to this? Do they like this over that? There's so many different messages that you can use packed into your offers already. And it doesn't have to be the same thing over and over. Like the word I keep saying, and I'm doing my finger in the air over and over, is regurgitated. And that's gross and not the right phrase. But the same thing, same messaging, switch it up. And then say you have a course. And the course is awesome. It's for the go-getter who needs some information on the go and needs to put their head down and learn and just freaking be off to the races. Break the benefits of the course down, who's benefit from it before, and start speaking to those different people and see what hits. Like you can really see if you write your offers out and you start to write like who it's for, how it would benefit them, some testimonials that could go with it, and all the different types of people it would benefit, you can really come up with a lot of different messages to just pique their interest, their attention. And when I took guide culture many moons ago, they talk about casting the net. And I love that idea. Cast the net and see what comes in. And I've been in Dan and Nicole Culver's mastermind, and they call them hand raisers. And so you're putting something out there, someone going to raise their hand and say, this is interesting to me. And you just really won't know until you keep doing it. And so the information you'll find out from that also will help you so much. So I just really want to encourage you today to come up with some different messaging and test them out. Let's see what you can come up with and let me know how it goes. I'll tell you some I've done is like, sorry, your ads manager sucks, which was fun. I may not be your first ads manager, but I'll be your last. Stop leaving money on the table is a big one I like to talk about. I love talking about the low-hanging fruit of your business and how we can capitalize on it. And some more things you'll see me talking about is like loving on your list, loving on your leads, and that customer journey of acquiring the person you hope to work with to them paying, and then you also down the road retaining them. So you'll see more of that from me. And I'm throwing it out there. Think of it rather than as a, man, I'm coming up with all these comparisons today. Instead of a tennis ball you're throwing, where you're like, all right, hitting the target, right? What about, I want you to picture like an octopus and all the tentacles, and that can be all the different messages. You're like, all right, this one was good. This one, no one really replied to, or okay, so you learned. The whole thing with this is you have to try in order to figure out what works. And so if you sit back and are timid or use the same messaging you've always used, that's not going to cut it anymore. So I just want to encourage you, test some different messaging. Let me know what sticks and what hits for people. Test them in stories, social posts, subject lines, different emails, see what gets clicks, see if you do Instagram polls and question boxes and ask for reactions and whatnot, what really piques people's interest. And then pro tip, if you're running ads, say, an image works, test different hooks and see what hooks of lines of copy are working and hitting for people. Same with social media for reels or posts or whatnot. The hook, what's capturing people's attention for you and your offers these days, you're going to get some really, really good information that way. The only way you won't get that information is if you don't do it. So I hope you do it. I hope you switch up your messaging, take the pressure off, and play a little bit in your business. That's the beauty of it, is it's your business and you can. So I'm cheering you on, and I cannot wait to see you again on the Clicks and Giggles podcast.